What up, everybody? Oh, and you know what? Everybody unmute your mics just for one quick second, and I just want to hear everybody go, woo, yeah, what up? Whatever you did. What up? Hello, hello.
Woohoo!
All right, we're going to have a little intro for a moment.
My friend froze over there.
Oh wait, is she on her treadmill? Who made? Oh, it's 147 people.
Wait a minute. Am I the one?
Everybody just give it 1 second, get everybody in. We're really excited about today's session. Hey, everybody.
Morning.
All those faces are looking beautiful. Great to see you.
It just froze me.
Vernice, are you the one frozen? You did.
Yeah.
It did.
Let's see.
Well, that's okay. While Vernice is used to stealth mode, and so we're gonna do a little introduction, and she is going to magically appear.
I really am.
So welcome everyone. I don't know how many of these you guys have been a part of, but this is our third WBENC Women of Color Power Hour. And Audrey, can you wave your hand for everybody? I want you to know Audrey Awesome. She is our program leader for this program, is super awesome, and you're going to be hearing about her in a little bit. And so I just want to make sure you know that Audrey is our program lead. She has put together a fabulous program for you. This series for us is our 2020 Vision series. And
Okay.
So this
Gmail
series
is not working.
Don't worry about it, Vernice. I'm going to cover for you till you're here. So our series is really set up to make sure that we deeply reach into our ecosystem and that we leverage every asset that we have in order to help each one of you thrive, which is obviously needed in today's economic environment. So this wouldn't be possible without Audrey putting the program together, without my good friend Vernice being here to talk with you, or without 4 of our major sponsors who have a deep commitment to bringing Vernice's message to you. And that is the Coca-Cola Company. So if you see our colleagues from Coca-Cola, give them a big wave, as well as our friends at Walmart, our friends at JP Morgan Chase and Company, and finally at Southern California Edison. This program is here. Our entire Women of Color program is here because of those 4 companies. And so we are truly enjoying all of our interactions with you. So thank you for being here. And I know some of you would be new visitors to our environment. So I'll share with you that I'm Pamela Prince-Eason, and I am the president and CEO of WBENC. And this is one of my favorite things to be involved in. I love our outreach to all the different communities. And this year, with how COVID has happened, I've spent less time with corporations, and they're good with that. And I've spent much more time with our WBEs. And so this has truly been such a great learning experience for me. So let's talk about what's going to happen to you today, because it's really going to happen. Vernice is literally one of my most favorite people in the entire world. It's going to,
and I love you too.
I love you, baby. And so it's going to be very engaging. Be sure that you use the chat so that you can interact both with your other colleagues as well as with Vernice and with the WBENC team who will be watching the chat for you. And really listen to what Vernice has to say. She is so absolutely amazing. We call her Vernice. Well, everyone calls her Vernice FlyGirl Armour. And she propelled herself from a beat cop to a combat pilot in a record-breaking 3 years and became America's first African-American female combat pilot. Now, I personally am not that brave or that skilled with flying, and so I think you're going to just love to talk with her. She's been featured on CNN. She's been featured on MSNBC, on The View, Fox News, Oprah Winfrey, basically you name it, she's been featured there. FlyGirl's fresh, edgy style, high contagious energy, and her unique gutsy essence will jump off the stage, the page, screen, and it will move people to action. So I'm going to get out of the way here because since 2007, she has inspired countless organizations and countless individuals to make gutsy moves and create breakthrough results. So I'm going to have Vernice talk with you about things such as her breakthrough mentality and her get gutsy mindset. So Vernice, I turn them all over to you, my friend.
All over to me.
All over to you.
Are we sure that's what we're doing?
Listen,
because
I'd like to thank you for your service and your leadership, and thank you for being here with us today.
Honor to serve in this way. I love. Oh, we got all the the poetry at the mic, all that stuff. I love it. All right, so I'm staring at my Zoom screen. I'm gonna ask everybody, whether you have makeup on or not, hair done or not, turn on your video so I can see you and we can actually have a conversation. This is not a voyeurism event. This is an interaction and engagement event, and I really want you to engage with me. And I'm gonna do us a little 30-second opener. What? Come on now. All right, I'm gonna go through the screens. There you go, Beverly. All right, put in the chat. Where you from? 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 I'm gonna look at the chat. I'm gonna give some shout outs. Come on now. Denver, I got you. Jessica, Christine, Patricia, Sarah, Heather. All right, Dr. Audrey, Noel, Eloise, Atlanta, Houston, Atlanta in the house. What? Okay. Look, we got Martha from Detroit, Eliza from New Jersey, Heidi from Atlanta, Tennessee. Who is that? Pam, Prince Easton. All right. M-Town, Memphis, downtown Orange Mound, Karen from Charlotte. All right. I love it. That you been through? Who's been through a long night and some big fights? That's all I gotta say. Right? That was a good part for me to cut off right there because I want to read a couple things. Yes, Marines can read. All right. In the US, the numbers for Latinas and African Americans grew 172 to 164%. Some of you might have heard some of these stats, but we're going to dig in a little bit. And where are we currently in the mix of these stats? The percentage of women in the US currently amounts to 50.6%. Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders, 146, Asian Americans, 105, Native African Americans, 106. Let's see. Among them, minority women are growing their businesses at breakneck speed. That's what these stats are. 146% Hawaiian Pacific Islander. Asian American, 105%. American Alaskan, 76%. Businesses grew more slowly than other businesses owned by women of color, but still faster than the average pace for women-owned businesses, right? Now, this is deep. Listen to this. Still, women of color face a real and widening revenue gap. The average revenue for businesses owned by women of color is dropping. This is before COVID. In 2007, the average revenue for a woman of color owned business was $84,100. By 2018, it was $66,400. Did you all hear that? That's an almost $20,000 per year drop, and it already wasn't at the six-figure mark. This is deep. On the other hand, the success women in business achieve in more privileged demographic populations is on the rise. The monthly average revenue for a non-minority owned business was $181,000. And in 2018, it went up to $212,300. So the question is, why are women of color falling behind? The second question is, if you're on this call, whether you're a woman of color or not, what are we going to do to reverse that trend of women of color's revenue dropping? And how do we take on the personal responsibility to do that? Now, this is a deep one. We all know Black Lives Matter. and the social movement is going on, right? The average annual sales for businesses of Black women was $27,752 in 2012. Do I need to repeat that? $27,752 in 2012 compared to $143.71 for all women, right? That's including women of color, and $170,570 for white women. 88% of women-owned businesses generate less than $100,000 in annual revenue. That's deep. 88% of women-owned businesses generate less than $100,000, six figures. The basics. We are going to have a conversation today about moving our businesses, our revenues forward, our generational wealth. Because what I know more than anything is that when women have businesses, a lot of them have families that they're trying to take care of, families with kids. And how are we leaving a legacy? How are we creating? Let's not even get to the leaving part. How are we creating a legacy right now, even in the midst of so much turmoil? COVID impacted tons of businesses. The economic recession because of COVID. And again, the death of George Floyd, which sparked the social justice movement. Folks, we have stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff, on top of all the stuff we already had going on in our lives. Where are we now? And when some of this inevitably happens again, then what? How are we preparing ourselves, preparing our businesses for next week, next month, let alone 10 years, 20 years? We're here, then what? And how are we preparing for that next phase? So I want to give a brief little walkthrough that I hope will be inspirational to the folks that are, wait a minute, actually not the folks. Let me see, I'm gonna look at a couple of people. Look, oh, what up, Therese? Okay, I see you. We got Erica, Donalisa Stinyard. Did I say your name right, Donalisa? Got you. We got Leslie. And then I have 5 more pages of non-video people. Don't make me call you out. I don't care if you have makeup on or not, or if your hair is done. You need to get this video on. We need to see some people. You do not have a hall pass, okay? When I was in the Marine Corps, I knew I was gonna get out. It wasn't gonna be a career. I was waiting for my sign, right? The sign of when is the right time to get out. I had been speaking for a while. When I got in the Marine Corps, some of the units were asking me to come speak because of the historic, milestone after Iraq. And when Oprah called me up and said, "Hey, Vernice, how does it feel to be the first Black female combat pilot?" I'm like, what? First of all, Oprah, what? Second of all, that's that, what? It was crazy. It was crazy, right? And so many people asked me, how did I create the breakthrough? Because there were several firsts. First Black female and only second to ride motors on the Nashville Police Department, first Black female police officer for the Tempe Police Department, first Black female pilot in the Marine Corps, and then first Black female combat pilot in US history. I did not have the aspiration of being the first in any of those roles or positions. I was just looking for how could I create an amazing, epic, juicy life. Right? And those things just happened along the way. So fast forward, I became a cop, I became a combat pilot, both dreams that I had. And I said, okay, what's my next thing? Well, I said, if speaking ever blew up, I'd do it full time. And in the meantime, I was gonna look at federal law enforcement because I thought it would be super cool to be a spy. Like Scarecrow and Mrs. King, I know I'm dating myself, but you all remember that show? Nod up and down, yes, yes, or throw it in the chat if you remember that show. Oh my gosh, it's frozen. Mika. It just froze again. Can you
Vernice,
all hear me?
We still hear
still
you.
hear you.
We can't hear you.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh my gosh. Audrey, if you can send, or Jill, if you can send me a number call in for the Zoom, I am going to call in to have that as a backup if for some reason my audio goes out. So I'm going to keep on chatting. So fast forward to 2006. I am at a Women in Technology conference. I'm being awarded as a pioneer in STEM. And I do this session. Afterwards, a couple women come up to me and say, oh my gosh, that was so amazing. We are all going for our plan A. You were so inspiring. I'm like, oh my God, that's great. And inside I was thinking, I inspired them for them to go for their plan A. And I'm not even going for mine. Wow. Very humbling moment. And in that moment, I looked up and I said, all right, God, I got it. I knew that was my sign. I walked around the whole rest of that conference telling everyone I was getting out, people from the Marine Corps, generals included, I do not recommend that exit strategy to everyone, right? And I came back, I looked at what I needed to do to resign my commission. A month later, my commission had been, the papers had been put in, it was approved, and my last day was going to be June 1st, 2007. And I said, all right, I better figure out what I gotta do to make this work. I wanted to be a speaker. So, and start my own business. So I started doing some research. June 1st gets here. I have 6 keynotes. It was awesome. July, got a couple. August, 1 or 2. September, 1. By the time October got there, I didn't have anything, right? The whole rest of the year, let alone the next year. And I was a month behind in my house note. Now, keep in mind, I had a partner, we had a son, and my mom lived with me. I was head of household. So this was not just some willy-nilly risk, oh, I'm young, let me just jump out on the limb. I had tons of responsibility. It was 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning, I'm pacing, walking back and forth in my office thinking, okay, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And I knew that if I didn't have a spoon, a shovel, a backhoe, I was willing to dig the ditch with my fingernails. Like I was committed to the commitment, right? I had just finished reading the book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. And in that book, he said, the mere act of smiling changes the physiology in your body. I was like, all right, I gotta smile. Right? It was not exactly a smile, I admit. But I also knew that I couldn't just smile. I had to do something. And as entrepreneurs, business owners, we know that the fortune is in the follow-up. So I said, all right, I got to make follow-up calls. Called a couple folks, ended up calling Larry at the end. He was kind of a buddy of mine. And I said, hey, Larry, how you doing? He said, oh, I'm going all right, Vernice, how are you doing? I was like, oh, well, really tough time right now. A month behind in the house note, no keynotes this year, next year. But there's this conference in Atlanta this weekend. I was at the conference the last year, so I know there would be a lot of leads. A lot of people said they wanted to bring me in, but I don't have any money to buy a ticket. It's last minute. So if I go, I'm gonna have to drive, but I drive a Dodge Ram, crew cab, dual exhaust. That thing drinks a lot of gas, all right? And even if I went, where would I sleep? What would I eat? Let alone admission to the conference, right? $2,500. This was a corporate conference. And he said, well, if you go, you're gonna drive, right? I said, yeah. He's like, well, Salem, Winston-Salem is the midway point. A friend of mine is throwing a fundraiser for Barack Obama. If you go, you can come to the fundraiser, spend the night on Thursday night, head down, fresh, showered up, ready to go on Friday morning. And in my gut, I knew it was the right thing. Now, I couldn't get my mind to wrap around them. Like, what, again, where am I gonna sleep? What am I gonna eat? Entrance to the conference, right? And I couldn't say no. Folks, that was my gutsy move. and your gut, you know what's right. It takes guts to do it, but you got to take action. You can't, I mean, if you don't take action, it wasn't a gutsy move. It was just a gutsy thought, right? Audrey, if you could drop that handout into the chat, I want folks to be able to download that handout for later. And on it, it has gutsy move. I want you to really think about what's your gutsy move, right? And in the second part, we'll talk about that as well. So I do it. I get in the truck, drive down. Thursday night, Barack Obama comes out, gives his spiel. He asks for questions. I raise my hand. He said, "Oh, Vernice, great to see you again. Thank you for your service." I'm like, oh my God, it was amazing. And yes, I got my picture signed. Then I head down the next morning and I'm at the event. I'm in my suit, I'm ready. I'm looking at registration, knowing I don't have a name tag. And then I hear somebody call my name. It was one of the conference organizers from the year before, that same Women of Color Technology event. He goes, "Hey, Vernice, we didn't know you were coming." I'm thinking, neither did I, right? And he said, "Hey, look, we had a speaker fallout. Do you mind filling in? And don't worry, we got your hotel and your registration." What? It's one of those Matrix moments, right? So check it. Not only did I have a hotel room by myself, didn't have to share with anybody. I had registration to the conference with a speaker ribbon, instant credibility, and it was one of those conferences where they fed you. So I was also gonna eat. It was amazing. Within 30 days of that conference, I had checks, deposits on keynotes in my business checking account from companies like Boeing Airplanes and Bank of America. Completely turned my business around. Within 4 years of that conference, actually within a year, 8 months from that conference, a year from getting out of the Marine Corps, my business broke $100,000, $136,000 that year, in fact. And within 4 years, my business broke 7 figures. Folks, this is not a bragging moment. This is a we have to show up moment. The universe was just waiting for me to take the step to show up. We have to show up, right? You remember that movie with Indiana Jones, right? He was stepping out into nothingness and then the pylon was coming up under his feet. It's like this, when I say the stars aligned, it's like as I would take the step, didn't know what I was stepping, the stars aligned at my feet. Had I not made that decision and stayed home because I didn't know this and I didn't know that and I didn't know this and I was waiting for everything to be set up before I took the step, I don't know where my business will be right now. No clue, to be honest with you. Would I have still found a way to make it happen? Absolutely, absolutely. And what I know is that moment of decision, that moment of giving myself permission to engage in my gutsy move. And what is permission to engage? When I was in combat, before I could release my weapons, the ground controller who had control over the aircraft would actually say, "You have permission to engage, cleared hot." Well, here at home, ladies, and a few smart men who are on this call, there are no ground controllers in life. You are your ground controller. If you don't give yourself permission, who will? That's my question. So right now, I want you to put, what are some of your most pressing challenges right now? Put them in the chat. And me and the WBENC team, we're gonna pick some questions and we're gonna answer, maybe 3, all right? So Audrey is gonna be the one reading the questions for me today. But what is your most pressing challenge? And while folks are throwing that in the chat, can we also put up the first 2 polling questions? Let's see, access to opportunities. I need to find a mentor, business development, diversifying sales. All right, first polling question is up. How long have you been in business? That should be a quick one. Let's see, virtual teaching, my STEM program in this new age. Yeah. Motivating myself, being okay with being a champion for myself. Man, that's a big one. We're going to talk about that. New business growth, working capital, business activity, lead generation. I hear glass ceiling, really need a mentor who can help me get out of my way. Confidence to first connection. And let's only give about 20 seconds to 30 seconds for each poll. People don't need more than that to answer how long have they been in business or that next question. Leads and revenue. I see a lot of funding, leads, capital, being okay with not knowing everything. All right, Carla, that's a big one. COVID happened in the middle of a pivot. Now we're pivoting the pivot. That's a good one. That's a good one. Holes in the supply chain. Yeah. Broaden network, sponsor. Connie, put more about sponsor. What do you need in the lines of sponsor? All right. How long have you been in business? Less than a year, 13%. 1 to 3 years, 14%. 3 to 5 years, 13%. Let me say one thing about that. Please don't take the poll down. I had an associate get up on stage, and you all hear the thing that the stat, she got up there and she said, how many people have heard the statistic that 95% of businesses fail in 3 to 5 years? Raise your hand. Who on this, who's heard that stat? Right. She said, well, that's not true. I was like, what? Everybody knows that's true. She said, they don't go out of business. They don't fail. They give up. I was like, ooh, that was deep. Let that one sink in for a second. More than 10 years, over 44% on the Zoom today. All right, great. Next polling question, please. Proposal and RFP development, name recognition. So it sounds like some marketing and whatever service or product you have out there. Are you certified through WBENC? Yes or no? Only give this one about 15 seconds because I do, and I want to jump to that last question about yearly revenue. If we can do that, Audrey, thank you. Let's see, WBEs with union labor. Ooh, union labor is tough. That's a good one. All right, 58% yes, 42% no. All right, for my 58%, if you have leveraged the WBENC network with connections and relationships, I just want to see some folks raise their hand. If you've been successful in doing that. Good. For my 42% that are on this conversation, right? I would encourage you to check out your local WBENC chapter, and whenever we get back together in person, we'll be having virtual events like this, but look at becoming a part of the community. There are so many resources, a lot of them available without becoming certified, yes. And I can absolutely tell you without a doubt, I was not certified for over 10 years. I was like, well, I got plenty of business, I don't know, does my business really fit within the WBENC model? When I became a member of WBENC, part of the community, so many opportunities have come my way. It is absolutely worth the investment of not just your money, but your time, right? Business is about relationships. And WBENC is one of those places where, yes, you can build relationships with each other, but they also put you face to face with suppliers, okay? So that's my encouragement on that. Audrey, can we ask that last question, please? Well, I shouldn't say the last. Now, this one, I'm super interested in seeing the results, especially after reading those opening statistics. What is your average yearly revenue? And I almost started to go higher, 20,000, 20 million to 50 million, 50 million to, because we have some ballers. All right, 10 more seconds. Are you still working with Obama and Oprah? So Oprah, am I gonna call Oprah back up? Yes, absolutely. But all my ducks need to be in a row. I wanna get all my digital stuff set up, my delivery, and I'm standing up a construction business. It was set up a couple months ago, EIN, and SAMs, all that stuff, and doing some JV partnering. When I get back in touch with Oprah and she's gonna say, well, Vernice, what are you doing now? Oh, and my book will almost be like, that will be part of my book marketing. The next book, The Gutsy Move. Absolutely. So you just don't ring Oprah's doorbell just to get on there and say hello to everybody. You gotta have your ducks in a row and you need to be ready for the windfall. So getting ready for the windfall over here. You cannot just join WBENC. You have to be engaged. Absolutely. Hi, Heather. It's worth every penny. I will make sure you two can discuss fee round. All right. What's the difference between WBENC and NMSDC? So NMSDC is the National Minority Supplier Diversity Council, right? So minority, and WBENC is women's business enterprise, right? Vernice, you always have your ducks in a row. Oh, thank you. How to establish myself as an expert in virtual meetings and pivot from in-person to virtual. Let me say this. Actually, I should probably tell my COVID story because it's a pretty good one. It's very humbling. Before I jump into that, Audrey, if I could see the results from that last poll. Ooh, Carla, I just launched my business. All right. Okay, everybody look at the numbers in this poll. Look at these numbers. 0 to 25,000 yearly revenue, 22%. 25 to 50,000, 5%. So now we're up to 27%. 50,000 to 100,000. That means they're making less than 100,000 or less because it's 101 after that, right? 22, 5, that's 27 plus 13. Math Marines, let's say it's 40 something. Do you see? We need a network. We need relationships. We need access to capital. We need the inspiration and the motivation. We need the education. We need the information. And we need the access. Folks, there are a lot of needs that we have. And just having one or two, or, when you can figure out how to put the entire package together, that's when you can create your breakthrough. You have to decide on if you have a hobby or you are truly wanting to create not a job that you own, right? But a business, self-managed. What does that mean? You can go on a trip to Africa on a safari post-COVID, and your business still makes money while you're away, right? Generational wealth, legacy. How are we doing that? The highest category in this poll was $0 to $25,000 at 22%. Under $50,000, almost at the 50% mark. And we have almost 200 women on this call. That's what we're talking about today. All right. I was sitting on, actually, wait a minute. Before I share this, Audrey, we were supposed to ask some questions. So go ahead and ask me the first question.
Of course. So the first question that I have is—
Everybody, this is Audrey. Give her a shout out. Say, what's up? Hey, Audrey. She's awesome, by the way, everybody.
Thank you. So going back to the questions, the first one that I received is from Nicole. She said, what if you don't know what you want to do in life? And I want to also prompt everyone to keep on posting their questions that we should ask Vernice. Thank you.
Awesome. What if you don't know what you want to do in life? Now, you didn't say purpose, but you also added in life. So is that purpose or is that business-wise? Now, for me, it's both. My purpose, I've created business structure around it, and I know I am absolutely walking my purpose on the planet, period, end of story. And if you can plug into your purpose and create an abundant life with what you were blessed to do on the planet, amazing, right? Now, what if you don't know what your purpose is? Now we have to go on a purpose quest. We got to figure out what it is. What do you love doing? What would you do for free that if you got paid to do it, it would be like, this is it. Hallelujah, right? I mean, I remember flying in the cockpit of that aircraft into the west, the setting sun, the pink purple clouds. I mean, I said, man, I get paid to do this as a cop. I mean, I wanted to be a cop ever since I was 4 years old. And I remember I was in a foot pursuit this one time and I'm running and my lungs are burning. It's like, oh my God, I always wanted to do this. This is amazing. I was living my dream and getting paid for it. Right now, I mean, I used to go to schools to talk to kids. When I was a cop, I would do career day. And right now I am getting paid to do what I absolutely love doing. So I would encourage you to figure out what is it that you love doing? And I hear way too many times people say, well, this is what I love doing, but I don't know how to make money at that. People make money at everything. Everything. You just have to have the will, the want, the desire to create more from it. Period in the story. And if it's more complicated than that, email me at flygirl@vernicearmour.com and we can talk about it. All right. Speaking of, connect with me on LinkedIn, Insta, TikTok. Don't know how long we'll have that together, but I'm on there too. That's a different name, Pilot V, PILOTVEE. And yes, you will see some fun and some shenanigans. I'll start posting some stuff on there. And of course, Facebook, Vernice FlyGirl Armour as well. Audrey, next question. I'll ask one more before we go to this next section.
We have a lot of questions pertaining to balancing time and priorities, resources, and confidence. This last question is she has a question about what business to start. This is from Mayangala, and she's unsure on what to do and what type of business to start.
All right. That's a big one. That's kind of a loaded one. It could go so many directions. But I will share this story. I was in San Francisco. I had an interview. The woman was interviewing me on risk, right? So she asked me all my questions, interview's over, and she said, Vernice, do you mind if I ask you a personal question? I'm like, yeah, sure. She's like, I'm working through a personal dilemma on my own. I was a life coach. I really loved it. But I also did transitioning out of a household to a smaller place for assisted living for the older generation, I should say seasoned generation, right? And I also did real estate, and I can't decide which one I want to do full time. And I said, well, which one do you like? She's like, oh, but I love all of them. And she told me what she got out of each one. And I said, okay, let's say you had $20 million in the bank and you had to pick one to get access to that $20 million, but you could never switch. Which one would you do? She's like, oh, that's easy. Life coaching. Like, okay, so why was it easy just then when it wasn't easy before to tell me which one you wanted to do? She thought about it for a second and she said, you know, honestly, because I didn't know if I could make it work. I don't know which one I can make work. That was a deep moment for me because I never looked at it from what could I make work. I looked at it from what do I want to do? Then how do I make that work? I didn't know how to be a cop before I went through police academy. I didn't know how to be a pilot before I went through flight school. I didn't know how to be a speaker, honestly, until after I'd already gotten out of the Marine Corps, started my business. I hired and that was in June of 2007. I didn't hire my first coach until November of 2007. Then I went to a speaker training in January of 2008. And my investment in myself has continued since then. But it's how do you can't turn a parked car, right? Failure is fertilizer, but you gotta be willing to fail. It's like, think of the baby when they take their first step. What inevitably happens? They fall on their diaper, on the side. You know, what if we had an engineer baby? And when it stood up, it's like, I got to analyze the numbers. Did I step on my left, my right? Need a new diaper. I'm going to take another step for another month, right? Or heaven forbid, that baby says, I will never take a step again. But that's not it. The baby looks around and says, other people are doing it. Other women-owned businesses are breaking $1 million. Other women-owned businesses are breaking 500. They're breaking $100,000. The question is, what do you need to do to get there? So I'm going to share a process. Create your flight plan, right, for your breakthrough. And you're going to have this on your slide. And actually, you could put this up right now, Audrey, for a quick, brief, so they can see it. Then I'll have you take it down. But number one, what's your flight plan? What's your vision? Where are you? Where do you want to be? Number two, pre-flight. That's where you mitigate the risks. So if I go back to step one real quick, you're not supposed to be thinking about the how. And actually, direct order, do not think about the how. Because as soon as you think about the how, what happens? Oh, well, I don't have this, I don't have that. How you do this, how you do that? No, it's just, what do you want? What do you really want? And once you've been open and vulnerable enough with yourself to acknowledge what you really want versus boiling it down because you don't want to go for that, but then fail. And it's like, so what's something I can attain? That's not how it works. What do you really want? Then pre-flight, mitigate the risk, pros and cons. Next, takeoff. One of the most critical phases, right? Like think of the space shuttle launch phase, headed up, right? Moments later, it's in execution mode, orbiting the Earth. That's step 4, execution. Navigating the challenges and obstacles. Step 5, review, recharge, and it used to be reattack, but I've changed it to reassess. Review, recharge, reassess. Review our successes and our failures. Recharge emotionally, physically, intellectually. Emotionally, are you feeding yourself? Right? Physically, are you drinking water, eating the things that keep your body running, exercising? And intellectually, that's why you're here. That's why you're on this call. Are you reading books? Are you taking some, especially during COVID, were you taking some time to really beef up on some things that you've always wanted to learn or you needed to learn? Some marketing or sales, whatever it is, how to run your business more efficiently, how to scale, how to build a team that you can depend on, right? Review, recharge, reassess. Where am I? Where am I now after this whole cycle? And how do I make the next leap? Then, after that, guess what? It happens all over again. We reinvent, which brings us back to the beginning where we reimagine. Where do we reimagine? Where do we imagine ourselves? Where could I be? Where do I want to be? And you create a new vision. And folks, honestly, it's not just a circular, sometimes you go back, execute, oh, let me go back to pre-flight, let me mitigate some risks, let me take off, right? Initiate a new project. Goes back and forth, but that cycle, create your flight plan. Again, what do you really want? Pre-flight, mitigate the risk, the pros and cons, take off, execute, review, recharge, reattack. And then we do it all over again. All right, one more question, Audrey. And I know I'm doing a little different timeline here, but it'll all work out.
Okay. The last question that we have is from Diana. She said that this question helped her launch her business. And I guess she wants to pose it to everyone else. What would you do if you could not fail?
And she's asking that of everyone then, right? What would you do if you knew you wouldn't fail?
And then the second question is from Liz. She said, how do you, and this question is to you, Vernice, how do you compare the gutsy vibe you used in the cockpit and in your business?
It's the same. So I like the vibe, but it's actually a voice. It's that voice it's that gut instinct that actually talks to me. All of us have it, but some of us have the volume turned down and we're not listening to it anymore. And our intellect has taken over for our instinct, but you don't always have the empirical data to make the decision, right? How do we lean and dig in to that gut instinct that is leading us in the direction that we really need to go? And if it's a gutsy move, there is going to be fear involved. Otherwise, it wouldn't be gutsy. It'd just be something on our to-do list. So how do you transform that fear to fuel? And I'm going to use that as a good segue to go into the next section. Because Audrey, you said there were quite a few comments about confidence, right? That's also one of the reasons I started the Gutsy Confidence Project, working with women to help boost their confidence. I mean, I was bullied as a kid. It's crazy, but I was bullied as a kid. I was very conflict avoidant as a teenager and a young adult, even into being a police officer, believe it or not. And I had to develop my confidence to really be who I am today, which is a complete 180 from that little girl, that teenager, even that young woman who had a lot of fear around using her voice, around sharing my truth. And what I know, I remember Oprah's quote. She said, you have to use your no muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. And I would say you have to use your voice. Your voice is a muscle. And the more you use it, the stronger it becomes.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this,
yeah, FlyGirl.
This is my most recent story. Sitting on my deck. Actually, no, let's back up. COVID hits, the beginning of March. I just gotten back from an event. All my keynotes get canceled as far as the eye can see. I didn't have my stuff on digital, and I had pricing for virtual presentations, but companies hadn't started moving to them yet, like in the real world, because they wanted all their speakers live and in person. So they went through a moment of, first, their business had to pivot in the midst of COVID. Mm-hmm. Then they could start worrying about their events that were coming up, right? So for me, virtual events have just started coming back, the paid ones anyway, probably over the last month and a half. So I went through 4 months of no keynotes, no revenue, no digital and virtual stuff. I felt like I was just caught with my pants down. Even for 5 years, I've been saying, I got to get my virtual, I got to get my digital, I got to digital delivery, digital downloads, digital blah, blah, blah. My coaching, online stuff, my group coaching for people, right, out in the world versus companies. So I did a fair amount of kicking myself in the butt and bad talking myself and being really hard on myself. And I said, okay, Vernice, you got to take your own medicine. Because I remember, this is one part of me talking to another part of me. I remember back in 2007 when you would get excited when people lost their job. And why would I get excited? Because I'm like, what? You just got fired? Now you can do whatever it is you've always wanted to do, but you never had the guts to do it because you had the secure paycheck. Oh, and the health insurance and the benefits and the this and all the reasons you said you didn't want to take the leap, take the jump, right? Now they had the opportunity. And I looked at it as an opportunity. And folks, opportunities don't go away. Other people take advantage of it, right? Boom. So I got excited, got my journal, walking around the lake. What do I want? Tangible, intangible. I created new dreams, new goals, because I realized that I've accomplished a lot of the things that I wanted. I wanted to have a kid, went through IVF, had a kid. Wanted to break $1 million in my company, broke $1 million in my company. Wanted to speak for Fortune 50, Fortune 10. I mean, I wanted a keynote at a certain level, like check. Right? Now there are still a couple. I want to have a New York Times bestselling book, and I want to be one of the most known speakers, not female speakers, period, out there, right? That's not true. I shouldn't even say speakers, but someone who helps transform lives, right? Women and their businesses, period, end of story, whether it's through speaking or consulting or coaching or a TV show, however the universe wants to manifest that, I want Oprah to have me on speed dial saying, yo, Vernice, what's up? You want to come over Sunday for greens? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Fast forward a couple weeks, and I watched George Floyd take his last breath. As a former police officer, watching that moment, I'm like, oh my, what just happened and why? And on my deck, I'm sitting there, former cop, former Army, National Guardsmen, the troops, the men and women on our streets keeping peace, right? Diversity officer for a headquarters Marine Corps, liaison to the Pentagon. I was on a committee that was over creating diversity policy for all of the services. I mean, I had all the background and training for diversity and inclusion, certifications. And then on the other side, I was an openly gay Black woman, 3 discriminated categories. And I remember distinctly thinking, what do I do? I said, well, I can't use my platform, because I didn't say can't. I just said I never use my platform for political stuff. And I was like, wait a minute, this is not political. This is about humanity. And even though I don't have 1 million followers, I have a voice. And how am I going to use my voice and my platform to reach my community, my world, meaning my neighborhood, my people, right? My tribe, my family. So I decided to move forward. A friend called me, Nell Merlino. She's a founder of Take Your Daughter to Work Day and Count Me In and Make Mine $1 Million, helping women businesses make more than $1 million. And we had a chat, and she's like, oh my God, Vernice, you have so much perspective on this. You have to write an op-ed. I'm like, what? And I just told you, I don't know what do you mean? By the end of that conversation, I couldn't not write the op-ed. Here I have all these checking the boxes. What is the white woman in suburbia with a kid thinking that has none of those, right? Thinking, well, how does she engage? And as small business owners on this call today, how do we engage? How do we make a difference? And I'll just say in our community, right? For Black lives. And I'll say it like that. And I passed a sign and it said, all lives matter. And I said, you know what? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And if my wife came home and I said, baby, do you love me today? And she was like, honey, I love everyone. I'm going to feel a little some kind of way. I want to know, do you love me? And I mean, and of course, the answer better be yes. But when we look at our community, the inequities that happened with Black people and people of color, there is a disparity. There is a difference. When honestly, I don't even walk outside of my neighborhood right now after what happened to Ahmaud Arbery, just a few hundred miles away from me, right? I mean, I've been pulled over even as a police officer. And when the police officer comes up to my car, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? But he didn't know I was a cop, right? So how do we as small business owners make a difference in that? What do our teams look like? How are we giving folks opportunities? Who do our suppliers, what do our suppliers look like? What do our clients, who are we marketing to? How are we marketing to them? How does our business operate in the world? And how can we forward and be a benefit to our community? And as individuals on this call, and I'm talking directly to you, have a conversation with your friends, have a conversation with your neighbors. And it doesn't have to get all political. It's what can we do right now to help Black folks? What can we do right now to help Black women business owners? And it doesn't mean that all businesses don't need help. In this moment, Black people are crying out for help louder than they have in my living history. I wasn't here during the first civil rights movement. But what I do know, even with slavery, Black people with the Underground Railroad, they weren't hiding in Black people's homes. Black people didn't have homes. They were hiding in the basements of white people who decided to step up and stand up and speak up, not to the powers that be, but to the folks who were running the Underground Railroad, the civil rights movement. And that's another reason why I have on this t-shirt today. It's about how can we be allies right? What does allyship look like? There were white people marching right next to John Lewis and Dr. King and Vivian, right? So how do we come together as the WBENC community? And when we look at that poll on this Women of Color Power Hour, when almost 50% of the women in that poll are making less than $50,000, folks, we need to do some things differently. We need to step up, speak up, stand up. Yep, we need access to capital. What, less than 2% of VCs are women? But how do we get some of the guys, the allies, to start making sure women-owned businesses are getting that capital as well? I'm gonna share one story. My dad was teaching me how to drive. He said, pull over. I'm gonna ask you a question. It's not gonna be on the test, but it's gonna be the most important. And you better know the answer. If the police pull you over, what do? Hands visible, 10 and 2. That's right, he said. I said, but Dad, what if I didn't do anything wrong? He said, it doesn't matter. You see, my dad didn't want me to be right. He just wanted me to come home that night. And in this moment, we, as a community, as a WBENC community, as a community of women of color, we have an opportunity to engage in a different way, to create legacy and scale and opportunity in our businesses and with our businesses. It's 12:59. I want folks to raise their hand and ask a question. Actually, wait a minute. I got a surprise. Jill, where you at? Jill, we got to give people a challenge real quick.
Here.
What's the challenge going to be?
How about,
There has to be something where they put it in the chat and we're going to pick from the people. So what do you want it to be?
what's their gutsy move going to be? What's their next gutsy move going to be? How do you like that one?
What is your gutsy move? I like it.
Put it in the chat.
Put it in the chat. And Audrey, if you will put up the slide of what they are going to get, it's going to be this.
Jill is the coolest ever.
Oh, but it's going to say something good is going to come out of this.
Something good is gonna come out of this.
So when you're sitting at your desk and you're having a hard time and it's just been challenging and you're working on that gutsy move, you're taking action, you could just look over and say, and just hit that button. And that's what's going to come out every time. Now, for my people who have asked questions, you're going to get this. Next slide. You're going to get a button and see that t-shirt? Can you blow it up? I want to make sure everyone sees the words on that. Look at that. A closed mouth don't get fed. So something good is going to come out of this was my great-grandmother. A closed mouth don't get fed was my granny. Memphis, Tennessee, Orange Mound, M-Town. Folks, we can't afford to be quiet and just hope for the best. We got to be loud. We got to be proud. We got to stand up. We got to dig in. We got to give ourselves permission to engage, and we have to make our gutsy moves. You got it? It is 1:01. We have officially, this is the end. And there are some questions I wanted to ask and questions that folks wanted to ask me. So I'm going to stay for another 15 minutes. It's going to be a bonus session. If you have to go because you have another appointment, I totally get it. But I'm going to spend some extra time just asking folks or letting folks ask me some questions. And you get to open your mic and ask me the question. And we get to see you pop up on the screen. Before we have the official ending, Jill or Pam, did you want to say anything to everyone?
Jill, I think that we should probably offer, if it's okay, to Therese, Yvonne, Terrence, both Michael Herrera and Michael Byron. I think I saw Jill Davis on. So any of them who want to speak, I think it would be great because their commitment is wonderful. So Vernice, when you're ready to pause, let us know and we'll see if any of them want to say something.
Well, I'm gonna just give a shout out to everybody you just said and to my family out there. What Y'all know what I'm talking about. I see you on this. I see your pictures on the screen. Okay, who wants to give a shout out from our amazing supporters and sponsors? Just unmute your mic and go ahead and share.
Hey guys, it's Yvonne, and I know Therese is going to jump on in a second. Vernice, again, amazing. I loved absolutely everything you stated, and I actually just put that I'm going to step out my zone and share my talents outside of my employer and start my own consulting business.
What?
This has been inspirational. Thank you so much.
You just decided that on this call?
On this call right here
I can
today.
take credit for it?
Yes, you will get all the credit.
Way to go, Vernice. And Yvonne, you will be fabulous.
Yeah. Totally.
Thank you, Pam.
Love it.
Vernice, thank you so much for speaking with all of us today. You are always, always amazing, and I always carry your messages with me whenever I hear them. And one of the most important things that you've given me particularly today is to remind me to not let that confidence barrier stand in the way. You know, always believe in the power of your own ideas, and you know, you can take that next step. So thank you so much for that reminder and all of the important stats that you shared, because I think that's important for people to know as well. Because even when we're talking about this program that we're doing, there's a lot of impetus for doing that, and those stats prove that. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jill.
Hey, Vernice, this is Michael. How are you?
Hey, Michael.
Good to see you. Hey, all I have to say is fantastic job as always. And one thing I would offer for everyone, and I think you said it best, was purpose. You've got to find that, because in that is joy. That's where you get to flourish when you figure that out. I know the work is hard. I know it's hard to be an entrepreneur. I've not been one, but I've been around them all my life. And I talk to them every day. You got to stay on purpose, and you have to be able to pivot. So offer that. And thank you for all you do, Vernice. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And I
Hi,
know
Vernice. This is Saken from Boston Scientific. I just wanted to say thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure to hear you speaking. I wanted to say that particularly I love the part where you say take action to everything that's going on in the world right now. For me, the best thing that I could do in my position at my company was get better payment terms for small and diverse vendors, which I just got approval and kind of the buy-in from for today. So that's going through right now. Thank you so much for your inspiration.
Hey, absolutely. I appreciate you. And congratulations. That's awesome.
And Vernice, can I just get Michael Herrera and Terrence in real quick?
Absolutely.
So this is Terrence. I was just texting Michael. I was going to kick to him because he is the lead for our women business category, and he's such an amazing part of my team, and so I really wanted to give him that opportunity. But Vernice,
what up, T?
What's up? Thank you for channeling Ida Mae today. That's my grandmother, and she says all the time, you know, closed mouths don't get fed. You have not because you ask not. So I'm telling all the women business owners today, ask for what you want.
That's right.
That's great, Terrence. Wonderful message. Wonderful message. And Therese, you want to be the last word on this so we can move to Q&A?
Well, you know, I'm speechless now that I know my secret weapon is going to be a consultant. That scares the heck out of me. Okay, so Vernice, FlyGirl, you owe me. You know, Vernice and I are girls,
yeah.
Real. And I knew she would be fantastic. And what I want to do is just say, I've got a whole crew on this call from the Coca-Cola company, and I truly appreciate their support. We posted on our Yammer and they showed out. And there's one last thing I posted to one of them, or actually one of them said to me, we need Vernice to come in and teach allyship at the Coca-Cola company.
Yes.
That's the best explanation that I have heard. It not only got to the heart of the matter, but I think it made those who aren't quite sure what allyship means a little more wise. So thank you so much, Vernice, my girl.
Therese, you know, I gotta give Therese her own shout out, because I had that op-ed that I told you all about. She posted it on LinkedIn, and she was like, if you don't know about Vernice Armour, you need to hire her, you need to bring her in, blah, blah, blah. Just, I mean, I just really want to blow it up and put it on billboards everywhere and just have everybody retweet it on Twitter and repost it on LinkedIn. But I created a new service out of this whole moment of it's called A New Conversation, actively transforming a company, country, a company, culture, and country, right? And it's companies right now aren't necessarily looking for a speaker on that. They want a guidance, an advisor. And with my unique background of so many different facets of the situation, no, I can't speak for every cop, can't speak for every Black person, can't speak for every, blah, blah, blah. And I've been in those shoes. So it's my gutsy move, putting myself in that arena where there's a thin line between things getting political or what my brand is known for. And Therese has just been an amazing champion of that pivot for me. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you.
That's great. So I have two things and then we'll turn it over for any questions. Therese, some of your colleagues are commenting in the chat and they're saying, bring her in. So I just want to get that over to Therese. And I forgot what the second thing was. So let's go to Q&A.
All right. Well, those who stay till the end, I usually don't even say this part, but I just want so many of you to win that I'm sharing there will be something at the end of Q&A that you'll probably want to stay for. So let me throw that out there. And maybe 50 people have already gotten off, so they missed out. All right, first question. Raise your hands if you know how to do that in your Zoom. And Audrey, do you want to pick someone or do you want me to pick someone? You pick someone because I can't even see how to see the people who raised their hands.
I actually got a ping from Rolanda Washington, if you want to ask Vernice your question.
Go ahead, Rolanda, unmute yourself.
Hello, Vernice. It's Rolanda Washington. And I just want to say back in 2016, I think I was working with AT&T and you came in and did a phenomenal presentation and we were all hyped and ready to go after that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have the juice, it's flowing. So
I remember it. Was that the leading with distinction?
Leading with distinction, absolutely.
Come on now.
Yes. So I'm here because I actually stepped away from AT&T and took the plunge after they offered a buyout and started my own HR consulting firm. And I will say that I have been hit in the gut with purpose. And when you spoke about that earlier, it kind of just a confirmation. So my question is, what advice could you provide if after all this time I've built a business and now I'm saying, oh shoot, I need to pivot and do something totally different that is aligned with my purpose and spiritual gifts? What would your advice be?
Absolutely. My advice would be keep what you're doing now until you just are ready to make the full leap into the deep end on what your new venture will be. And I'm giving you different advice than what I did. To be clear, I was like, I'm out, I quit. And then I said, okay, now what do I do? That was crazy. I'm glad I did it. And being in the military, there was no other way for me to really do it the way that but I didn't have to be living paycheck to paycheck. I could have had money savings and all this. I could have had all the ducks in a row and I could have waited for everything to be perfect. And I would probably be retiring from the military last year or something like that. And then finally going into it instead of having been in business almost 15 years now and having just an amazing journey. So it's really that personal decision on when is that time to take the full leap and really go for it. So I'll share this one thing, Rolanda. I had a friend, I hadn't heard from her in a while, and she reached out via text and she said, Vernice, I remember when you told me to or get off the pot. Y'all know, Granny used to say that one too. And I did. And I just want to let you know, I lost my house, I lost my car, I lost my family, and she lost something else. And at this point, I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm dying, right? Reading this text. And then the next line was, and I am so glad I followed exactly what you said, because I am absolutely living my dream life and I've created exactly what I want. So I say that to say your gutsy move isn't always going to turn out the way you think it's supposed to turn out, especially in the short term. And there are the dreams that you have for life, and then there are the dreams life has for you. Marsha Weeder, never forget when she said that. Let that one sink in for a minute. If life just went exactly how we felt it was supposed to go, how do we live that amazing, huge, big life that we never could have imagined for ourselves? That is really the real life that's waiting for us. Willie Jolly said, a setback is just a setup for a comeback. Had all my keynotes not been canceled and all of that stuff, I wouldn't be having a new conversation followed by new actions and behaviors, right, in corporate America. If I hadn't been a month behind in that house note, who knows if I would have taken that direction to go to that conference that year. Do you see what I'm saying? The detour is the path.
Wow.
So hopefully I've answered your question and given a little bit more to think about.
Yeah, you blessed my soul. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All
Looks
right.
like
Who's
next
next?
question, Vernice, is from Montina. So Montina Young Portis, if you would like to come off of mute.
Hi.
Montina.
Awesome. Hey, Vernice, I met you a few times. NSA, Suzanne Evans. So thank you so much. Today was awesome. And I'll tell you, I very rarely sign up for these webinars because it's like more of the same, but this was refreshing. I appreciate you talking.
Okay, put your question in the chat, Montina. All right, and I'll try to answer that. And for all of you that put a lot of questions in the chat, we are going to save the chat, and I'll probably be I will be dripping out short videos answering people's chats or questions on LinkedIn and Instagram. All right, I will do.
Vernice, oh, were you able to hear her question?
No. Did you all hear her?
Yeah.
What's your LinkedIn page?
It's okay.
Did what?
Montina, go ahead and give us your question real quick.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me? Can she hear me?
It doesn't look like she can hear you, Montina.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. No problem. I was going to ask her about her expansion into the construction industry.
Do you all hear her talking right now?
Upon that.
Okay, she said that she was going to ask you about your expansion into the construction industry and if you can elaborate on that.
Great. I have no idea why everybody else could hear her and I couldn't. That's crazy. All right. She wanted to know about why did I expand into construction?
Yeah.
Because one of the statistics I knew a long time ago is that there are less than 10% of women-owned construction businesses. And I said, well, I'd like to be a part of that because there's the 8A program, or I can JV with an 8A partner that I already have. And I have the Veteran Service Disabled, as well as the WBENC and the NMSDC and the NGLCC. I mean, the government has some programs and set-asides that I could take advantage of. So I love business, period. And I mean, I want to be like a JDH or something, you know what I'm saying? Oprah, Beyonce. I want to have multiple streams that are making multiple 7 figures. And construction, being a GC, is absolutely one of the ways that I can do that. So FlyGirl Enterprises, construction was created. And that's why. Plus, you know, I could even specialize in airport maintenance and construction or something, even though I probably won't tighten myself down that tight. I hope that answered her question. And if you have any other feedback, throw it in the chat. All right, let's see. It's 1:16. I know we had our partners talk for a little, so I'll go with one more question and then I'll share my bonus. So if they could raise their hand, or Audrey, if you already have them picked out, or Pam or Jill.
Yeah.
Lindsay. Say again.
We can go to Karen Jones. She asked, do you recommend girls interested in aviation should go in the military first in this age or start an aviation club in some cities?
So I don't ever recommend the military to anyone. Going into the military is a very personal decision, because when you sign on the dotted line, you are signing to sacrifice your life for our country. And that's just not a business or career decision for me, even though I know it is for many. So if you're cool with that part, then absolutely. I mean, you go into the military, you get a multi-million-dollar aviation training and can come out and still be an aviator in many different ways. So it's an awesome way to go if you're good with the military part first, right? And then all the experience and training you get on the other side is a blast. I mean, you get paid to learn how to fly, while most people are paying thousands and thousands of dollars to learn how to fly, right? So that's a no-brainer. But the military part is like really important. I slept on the ground and in the dirt more than once or twice, but that was the Marine Corps. It wasn't the Air Force. So all my veterans on the call today, what's up? Thank you for your service. So I do want to have somebody ask one more question so we can end on a business question. Something about business. What you got?
See, I've got one. Give me 1 second. They're flying in so fast that you lose them, Vernice. So give me 1 second. How do you decide the particular niche for your business? So, you talked about in your particular scenario just then that you probably wouldn't hone yourself right in as you talked about construction into something, but how would you advise others about a niche?
Right. See, so all of us don't have Coca-Cola marketing money, right? And it's almost if you market to everyone, you market to no one. So for instance, on my B2C side of the house, business to consumer, with my coaching program that I've just launched, gutsyconfidenceproject.com. Check it out. I work with ambitious women, not just women, but ambitious women who are suffering from bouts of lacking confidence, right? Doesn't mean you're not confident all the time or whatever, right? But bouts of lack of confidence and imposter syndrome. Doesn't mean you have imposter syndrome all the time, but in some places, some areas, sometimes, that want to discover the secrets to being gutsy, right? So I could have just said, I have a confidence course for women. Okay, great. But that's not who I want to target. So your question was, how do you target? And the question is, who do you really want to work with? Whether, like, even with my construction company, I think working on airport projects would be cool because I get to be around aviation all the time, right? But also, do I just want to do aviation, or do I want to have the option or opportunity to do projects with different JV partners? And I saw somebody in the chat, they said, how did I create my JV partnership? Again, it goes back to relationships. A buddy of mine who I saw her start a construction business, she's over an 8-figure business now. And we've just been friends forever. And I said, hey, I want to do construction and we're going to JV. That's why I talked about WBENC in the community and creating those relationships yourself, because we can be so valuable to each other. I mean, the opportunities are endless. And again, opportunities don't go away. Other people take advantage of them. So good segue for the bonus. For everyone who stayed to the end, it's 143 of us, I am going to offer a masterclass, and we are going to talk about business stuff. And one of the big things will be numbers. And one of my friends, Begin Echeverria, she sat me down. I was a young business owner at the time. And she said, Vernice, do you know your numbers? Do you know how to read your profit and loss statement, your balance statement, your this, your that, your budget? Do you know? She's like, there are so many women-owned businesses out here. They don't know their numbers. They don't have their goals. They don't have their sales funnel or this, da. And how are you going to run a successful business and you don't even know what your profit margin is? I was like, wait a minute, I don't know any of that stuff. So because someone took me under their wing, it made a profound difference in my business and in my life. So I want to be able to do the same thing for women in my world, women in my community. And WBENC is absolutely my community. And even if you're not certified by WBENC, you're on this call. So you're in the WBENC community, and we hope you will get your certification soon, sooner than later. So I am going to get that masterclass info out to Audrey, Jill, and Pam, and it will be next week. And I'm gonna ask a quick question. Do you want it to be during the day like this or in the evening? I prefer the day because I'm a business person and I do my work during the day, not in the evening when I got my little fly baby. All right, I'm fly girl, she's fly baby. And let's see, day. Okay, that seals the deal. It will be during the day next week. I'll make sure it deconflicts with anything else WBENC has going on. But it is going to be an honor to provide that. And also, if you will put some things in the chat that you would love for me to go through or go over in that masterclass, please put it in the chat, because again, we're saving this chat. So I'll be able to check it out. And for those who asked the questions, enjoy your t-shirt and your button. And I'm gonna end with this story. So my great grandmother, well, actually, I want this story to be the last thing you hear. Pam, Audrey, Jill, Lindsay, do you guys have anything to say?
Go for it.
All right, you've been wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be a part of the team, and I look forward to the next time. Women of Color Power Hour, we're gonna end it like this. My great grandmother, back in the day, she was the first African-American female unity minister alongside Johnny Coleman. And feisty does not encapsulate who she was, right? But being a granny, living in the South, she had her isms, right? My favorite one that she would say, something good's gonna come out of this, right? But she put her whole body into it. That's probably why it was my favorite. She put her whole body into it. She would ball up those little fish, shake all over, something good's gonna come out of this, right? So back in the 40s, great grandmother decided it was time for a new car. And this is deep, right? Back in the 40s, she drove down to the Cadillac dealership by herself and bought a brand new Caddy off the showroom floor. Now think about that. Back in the 40s, a woman couldn't even go to Sears and buy a washer and dryer set without her husband. Black woman by herself went down to the Cadillac dealership and bought a brand new Caddy off the showroom floor. 2 days later, totaled. I know. But what did great grandmother say? Let me see you, those that are still on the video. What did great grandmother say?
Something good
is gonna come out of this.
Now look, let's be honest. I don't know if she said it that way. But great grandmother said it with conviction every time, every time. So I encourage you to create your good out of this moment right here, right now. Because today is the only day we have, period, end of story. All right?
Something good's gonna come out of this.
Stay gutsy. I'll put a little outro music on for everybody who wants to come off mute and say bye. I am here.
Thank you, V.
Thank you, Fly Girl.
Thank you. Thank you, Fly Girl.
Thank you, Fly Girl.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. You're amazing.
Bye. Karen.
Thank you.
Rosie. Candace. Terrence.